Hello, hello.
Mic check 1 2.
Mic check 1 2, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Let's rock and roll.
Plot twist. We're gonna do number 7, third.
I'd be like, so that's a wrap, actually.
And tune in next week.
So I'll be here all week because I live here, but
Not on the podcast.
never doing this again.
But never invited back.
I'm never allowed.
Well, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the PWYFA Play Where Your Feet Are podcast. You can see next to me is the lovely Kayleni Western joining us.
Hello.
Kay is actually our only guest that we've had on twice.
I'm honored.
You're our only repeat guest.
I'm so honored.
So that says something about all of our other guests.
Yeah, it says a lot, actually. It's been great.
Yes, no, everyone's been great.
great.
But Kay is my favorite to bring on because I feel like we're the most, chill, but also most just like, let's debrief life.
Yeah, let's
and
get
go
into
into
it.
it. Yeah, like we obviously, the other episodes are much more like interview style. And granted, we do have questions today, but we're pretty much going to play We're Not Really Strangers on camera.
Love it.
And if you know us, you know this household, this couch, this room that we're in right now, we play We're Not Really Strangers all the time.
Yeah.
Every time people come over.
It's initiation.
Because it's literally initiation to our household.
It really is.
Because we love, one, just getting deep, but then also it's just so fun.
It's so fun.
Is that
like,
weird?
Tell me about your life. Go.
And it's also cool because then we recap and we do it again. And yeah, we answer the same questions, but your questions and your answers might change.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. And so today we're pretty much doing this, but we're also kind of making this like a Spotify Wrapped episode, but life version. So we're pretty much recapping last year. We're talking about what our goals were. We literally have our sheets from the fridge up here.
Accountability, baby. Accountability.
So we have our 2023 like words, mindsets, verses, different things, and then we're going to talk a lot about basically how did that go?
Yeah.
We wrote it down, we set our goals, how in the world did it actually go?
Right.
And then we're going to talk about 2024 and what is to come. And it's going to be super, super fun, full of gold nuggets. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun.
Let's go.
And I think we're going to throw out like all rules basically. Like I said, it's not going to be super strict interview style. It's going to be a conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because I've also just personally been listening to a lot of podcasts that are very just like chill.
Right.
And
yeah,
so
same, actually.
hopefully this will be that for y'all.
Yeah,
And
I'm
hopefully
excited.
it'll be fun and hopefully you're still listening right now. And you
We're
haven't
just so
logged off
excited.
yet. But let's do this. So before we get into it, you guys know the drill. If you've listened to the podcast before, make sure you follow, subscribe, do all the things you got to do to help us out. You guys know by now we are in 2024. So do all those things for us. Find us on social media at Play Where Your Feet Are, and you can pretty much find everything there, including soon in February or so. I don't know when this episode is dropping. Hopefully in January. But Kay and I are repping
We sure are.
some little merch today. So we got some upcoming merch, little side plug. You can currently shop all the other merch though. So
Yes,
you can
get on it.
Yeah, don't waste time today.
Right.
But yes, so many exciting things. I apologize for looking at my phone for my notes today, but you gotta do what you gotta do because we have so many camera angles. Hopefully this makes it an awesome production.
Yeah.
But we have 2 laptops up with Zoom calls. We got the camera. And we are making things happen in our living room.
We're going to get some clips out of this.
Oh, yeah,
wink,
for
wink,
sure.
Wink, wink.
Social media is about to be popping. Alrighty, let's do this. This is season 3. Who knows what episode at this point, but it's going to be good.
Let's go.
Let's go. This is the PWYFA Play Where Your Feet Are podcast, and I'm your host, Cameron Dobbs. Okay, we talked about already what this episode would be like for us. It's going to be chill. We're going to break down our year. We're going to talk about this upcoming year and everything in between from last January to this January and how in the world it happened and what did God do for us and how we saw God through everything that has happened this past year. So, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm excited.
Kay, I think is actually a lot more prepared than I am for this episode, to be honest.
Actually,
I
felt so unprepared.
I wrote, obviously, the structure and questions and stuff, But I think you are probably a lot more prepared than I am.
Wow.
At least maybe, actually no, I think for everything.
which this is such roles reverse,
because this is also foreshadowing though of what you're focusing on this year.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's very true.
Let's get into it before we go into 2024. We're switching things up today. I already mentioned that a couple times, but instead of doing our typical last question, we're going to actually switch things up and do it first today. So, Kay, the typical question is, what does play where your feet are mean to you? But I want to ask specifically, what did it mean to you last year in 2023?
Yeah, well, going into 2023, I was only 2 months post-jaw surgery, maybe. Yeah. So I was like in the valley, but also not. Like, God was really moving and it was crazy, but it was hard to play because I could do nothing, you know? And so for someone who loves playing and having fun and just being a joyful person that's always spontaneous, to be bedridden for months and months, not able to really do anything for herself, and having people like my mom and Cam really like feed me, like I was literally a baby all over again. I think play where your feet are really meant for me surrender and gratitude, and those two really went hand in hand. There was just, on top of jaw surgery, there was a whole year after that. And so many things happened in 2023 where I really had to surrender. I didn't have control over a lot of situations in 2023. So in order for me to actually be able to play again, I had to surrender that certain things were not going to be how I wanted them to be. They weren't going to be how I planned for them to be. And in order for me to find the joy in really situations that the enemy wanted to completely knock me down, I had to surrender. And yeah, so I think it was really surrender and then gratitude. Like, I had been praying for years on years for jaw surgery. And how naive and ignorant would I be if I wasn't grateful during recovery? Like, the fact that I made it through an 8-hour surgery, that doctors were incredible. My friends were by my side through the whole thing, like cheering me on, walked through the years of preparing for that with me. How could I not be grateful to God for just getting me out of the room, out of the surgery room, you know, and into recovery, and a quick recovery at that. And so I don't think anything of that story is normal, and it just goes to show that it was God. And so yeah, play where your feet are really meant surrender and gratitude, and that's where all the joy stemmed from.
And you talked a lot about how it was like, basically it was different than you expected.
Yeah.
And so even that word play, you touched on a lot, that was different than what play usually looks like for you. So obviously it was different. That's the obvious. But how did you still find the play? You know, what did you do, like specifically in that situation, not even like very specific practicals? Because, you know, I personally know a friend of mine, a coworker, who's on bed rest now for the rest of her pregnancy. I know, you know, people that go through ACL surgeries, whatever it might be, that literally put them sitting and stationary for some time. So how did you play during the season?
Yeah. So for me, I just did things that I could do. Like if I could go outside and take a 2-second walk, I did that. And get fresh air. I painted a lot. I didn't think, I'm not a good painter, but you know what?
But you did it.
But I did it because I needed to do something. I couldn't speak well, so I journaled, and I love writing music, but I couldn't obviously sing, but I still had lyrics and melodies in my mind. And so I wrote music. Like, anything that I could do, I did it. Yeah. And I was limited, but I wasn't bound.
Yeah.
And I think that we can get really in this like captive mentality when you're put in a position where you can't quote unquote do something. But there was a will, and I made a way, and God made a way. So I was like, look, I'm gonna do it. If I can even just tell my phone to tell Cam something so I can have a joke. I couldn't laugh. I was not allowed to laugh because it hurt, but like I had a joke in my mind, and like I'm still me, you know. And so I think playing was not losing myself in the midst of my pain, and making sure that like I stayed myself throughout the recovery, but I leveled up through it. And so I don't know, I did laugh, and I wasn't pain when I was laughing, but at least I was laughing. And I painted, and it wasn't good painting, but it was fun. It just did things that I could do. And so that's how I've found my play through the pain.
Yeah. When did you start eating?
Oof.
When was
so if you are my jaw surgeon, and you should not be listening right now,
Close your ears for the next 20 seconds.
So technically, you're not allowed to chew anything for 6 months. Girl, week 2, I was swallowing pasta whole. I was starving. I was like,
I vividly remember those images of you.
I
like
recorded
just
them.
but even just like I can see the scene in our kitchen now. Like those little what were they called?
Pastina. Thank you to the Italians.
It's itty bitty pasta.
I love.
And you were just like,
yeah. I was like, please. Yeah, I love pasta. So, I was like, God, I'm so sorry for being disobedient, but I need to eat. Like, I have to. And I'm tiny. Like, I can't afford not to eat. So I was swallowing pasta whole and syringing protein smoothies, honestly. But really started eating actual soft foods 6 months, I would say, 6 weeks post jaw surgery, sorry.
It's like 2 months-ish.
Yeah, but then I had my second surgery in January, so it was about another 2 weeks after that. So really,
January like 7th or something, right?
First week of January.
Yeah, I remember that.
I had my second one. So really, I would say in February I started eating or trying to attempt eating.
Yeah.
Which is insane. That we're like
we were in
basically like a
Nashville.
month from my second surgery now, if we think about it.
Yeah.
Wild.
A year. I like really tried to do the math in my head for a minute. I was like,
we know that's wrong, but
that's right. I was like, did I mishear that?
A year.
That's where we're at.
Welcome to Kay's life. She's not good at math, and Cam corrects me constantly.
But for good reason.
Yes.
We make each other better.
We do.
Alrighty. On my side of things, I'd say I relate. But also that might be because we're both talking about playing where your feet are.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the obvious statement here. But I would say I think play where your feet are really meant to me a lot of just like steward what he's already brought.
Yeah.
Playing where your feet are at the moment, currently, there. Whatever position you're in, good, bad, ugly, if you want to be there or not, that's where you are.
Right.
And so that's where you should play.
Right.
And whether that's playing and you're laying in a bed, or it's like performing, or it's working hard, or grinding, or whatever it is in the sense of the word for you, just playing where your feet are. And so stewarding what he has already brought me was a big thing. And specifically because that in and of itself is already an answered prayer.
Right.
Because the places that I was in, the jobs that I was in, the positions I was in, the friendships that I had, like everything that I was walking through was already an answered prayer. And so simply just having gratitude for that, and then trying my best to thrive in it and stewarding that season. And again, like work, relationship, being in Miami, whatever it might be. And I think a big release for me was, this was towards the later end of the year, but actually allowing myself to love where my feet were at. Because I think, obviously it's not in every single thing, but I love living in Miami. I love living in Miami. I love the friends that I have. I love this house. I love my roommate. I love majority of the situation that I'm in. And I think for so long, especially being in broadcast journalism, and I think a lot of careers are probably like this too. Yeah. But because that's just what I'm in. It's like if you're not advancing, you're failing.
Right.
And so I think for me, for a long time, I was thinking like, I'm still in this Miami job. I'm not going anywhere. And so I have to hate my life. I have to not be happy with where I'm at, because if I'm happy with where I'm at, I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to get there. I'm going, like, people won't think I'm ambitious, whatever it might be in the sense of the word. But I think I just wasn't letting myself love my life because I guess what everyone else thought. Yeah. And I think that was a lot of what I grew through last year, was just getting rid of people's expectations and even my own expectations of what my life looked like, of what my jobs looked like, of what everything, my relationships looked like, everything about my life. And it was, whether it was the ones I had set previously myself or the ones that other people have in my life. And so I think that was a big thing for me. And I'm probably skipping all over to all of these questions, but it was also because one of my biggest prayers last year was, if God's not in it, I don't want it. Right. If he's in it, I believe he's going to bring it. Yep. And if he's not bringing anything at the current moment, I'm going to steward what he already brought, because that in and of itself is already an answered prayer. Yeah. And I think, again, so that's why it was really the root of play where your feet are, was stewardship. all last year for me of just like, all right, I have this opportunity. Cool. I don't have this opportunity. Cool.
Right.
And I think just learning so much. I was talking to a friend this morning, learning so much that you can almost laugh at the things that pass you by because they're so incredibly not for you.
Yeah.
Like, you look back, and whether you realize it, whether anything good, bad, or ugly happened, like, you just look back and you're like, oh, like, there it goes. Like, God that wasn't for me. Like, I just, okay, like, cool. And it's, like, so funny because it's like, man, I really wanted that, or man, I really saw myself in that job, or this or that and the other. But it's like, oh, God really didn't. That is way down the road now, and I'm way down the road that way. And so God just didn't have it for me. So again, just stewarding what you're already in, having gratitude of what he's brought already, and then just knowing that God's plan is ultimate and trusting it and all that. So that was Play Work Feeder for me. Yay, 2023. Alrighty. So backing it up, going into 2023, what were your mindsets, your goals, your resolutions, your words? Basically, what does that sheet from the fridge say?
Yeah. I think I'm going to kind of follow our little guide, but one of my biggest like accomplishments and something that I had written down going into 2023 is that, Lord, if you wanted me to go back to school, because I did not feel called to it. But I was like, God, if you want me to go back to school, you're going to have to show up and show out because your homegirl does not want to do it. And so if you want me to go back to school and finish getting my AA, I will. But you're going to have to pay for it. You're going to have to make it the easiest process of life because I'm not doing it. And wow, he did it so smooth, so quick, but it took faith. And to make a long story short, I went back and I finished, which is a big accomplishment for me because at the end of the day, I didn't do it. I felt my whole life I was always going to school and getting degrees and doing things for everyone else, but I finished it and I did it and it's under my name. And so I think it just taught me like to commit to something, to finish something. Yeah. And who knows if I'll go back, but as of right now, like I did what I felt God wanted me to do. And so I think that was probably my biggest goal. Got paid for the last day money was due. I didn't even realize that it got paid for by a scholarship I didn't even apply for. Like my professors were great. I passed all my classes with A's. Like it was hard work and I don't necessarily love school, but like I actually kind of enjoyed it. And so like it just goes to show that he's really in the fine details. And so I think that was my biggest accomplishment.
I'm proud of you for that too.
Thanks.
I think finishing says a lot.
Yes.
And so I'm glad you did.
It taught me a lot of discipline and just hard work. And then I think the biggest thing I learned when it came to maybe like physical consistencies, I wanted to eat 3 meals a day. I have never been able to do that just through jaw pain, maybe even just like my past of being like having eating disorder. I've just never been able to like consistently eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And
you also came off of 2 jaw surgeries where you weren't allowed to eat.
Right, I couldn't. But I knew going back into it, it was going to be a lot easier for me to just choose not to again and like conform to the fact that like, no, maybe I didn't get healed or like, no, I don't want to. I'm scared. But honestly, like towards like the summer and going into the end of the year, like I've eaten 3 meals a day pretty much every day unless I'm fasting. And that was a huge win for me and like breaking so many mental barriers there. Let's see what else. Let's pull up the paper.
Yes.
Let's see. Oh, I started asking for more help, which is big because I'm always the first person everyone calls for help. Yeah. But I'm never the person that asks for help. And so I just started asking for more help and like really fighting the lie that I'm a burden because I'm not. And people want to be there for me as much as I'm there for them. And so there's that. Daily Devo time. It's been going good. It's been going good. I've gotten way better at reading my word and not just reading it to pass time, but like actually reading it to study it and get in God's presence. Yeah. And then, so the school thing is probably the biggest love for me, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. And then my biggest revelation of 2023, which I think I was in denial about it being a revelation for so long until Passion, which it got confirmed. But we won't go there. But we will.
We will. Just not yet.
Just not yet. But my biggest revelation is that I didn't know, like, how much of a people pleaser I was until this year. And I think which this is, like, profound in itself, but I think that I've masked being a people pleaser for so long and just being hospitable. And, like, you know, we talked about it, like, just like what the culture of our home is going to be like.
Yeah.
But with that, like, I didn't necessarily think about the boundaries that I had to set with that. And so I think my biggest revelation was like, okay, you are not, I guess, hospitable to a fault at times. And like, I think Jesus was hospitable and you need to be hospitable. Mm-hmm. But it comes to a point where like you're hospitable and
he wasn't a doormat.
Right. Like people are walking all over you.
Yeah.
And I think that's my biggest revelation is like, enjoy your alone time and love your alone time. Not to the point where you're in isolation, but to the point where like you can do both and do both well. Mm-hmm. And so I think my biggest revelation was like, get alone and be still, because we live in such a culture and such a world where like our generation does not know how to do that at all and doesn't know how to do it well.
Are you talking about me?
Just a little. No, but
she side-eyes me so hard.
Yeah, I love Cam. I think I'm the only person that's allowed to do that, honestly. No one else come for Cam, or you have to go through me, which you probably could. But you can't. But I'm not a doormat. Okay. But no, I think like we got to be still and like not, and have boundaries and set boundaries. And if people don't like your boundaries, okay, that sucks for people. And I needed to learn that like being hospitable has boundaries to it. And I think that's probably my biggest revelation. That was honestly 2023 goals, consistencies. Like that was really it for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to read from my paper. So
love it.
Lovely. Show it to the class.
I love
my lovely 2023 and me. My words were rest.
LOL.
And prepare. Mm-hmm. And rest has no explanation needed
at all.
But a big part of that was the last 2 years for me, like 2021 and 2022. My word of the year was go. Right. And it was to go with bold and blind faith. Whether I was afraid or not, I'd be all in. And even if I was frightened, I would be full speed ahead. And that was so amazing for me. And I went through, like, I had so many bold moves that I had to do.
Bold moves.
And I made, and it was awesome. And I just grew so much, I feel like, in my courage. And I would literally be, like, shaking some days. And I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go anyway. Like, here we go, God. You better be there because I'm going. And I did for 2 years straight. And it was go from things like relationships, from whatever that might be, and like the silly little stuff in a sense. But then it was also, I was starting a business and writing a book and publishing a book and pursuing my podcast and doing my first internship and graduating with my master's. And so it was a lot of like adulting type stuff too. Yeah. That I was like, I just need to go, and this is new, and I need your help, God. Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to go, and you better be there, like I said. So it was a lot of that the previous 2 years. And so now I was like, all right, book is published, podcast is running, merch is going, I'm in my career, and now is the time to rest just a little bit. Obviously, I'm still going to grind.
Of course.
Obviously, my rest looks a lot different than other people's rest.
Yeah.
But it was just, if I could have rest at the forefront of my mind, that was going to be a win.
Yeah.
If it was just intentional, if I was self-aware, that was going to be a win.
Right.
And I wasn't saying I was going to get 10 hours of sleep every night. I wasn't saying I was going to get 8 hours of sleep every night, 7 hours of sleep every night. I was just simply going to try my best to prioritize rest more than I had before. And so a lot of that was from go to let go, and from go to no. Because like you, it was practicing boundaries of what could I say no to?
Yeah.
Who could I say no to? Where could I say no? And I think I'm going to get into this too, but a big thing that sparked for me was before 2023 started, I was at a wedding in November, I think, November 2022. And it was a church wedding. And so like everyone there was from the church. We all knew each other. It was awesome. It was down here in Miami for my friend Vane. And I was sitting at a table full of people, and one girl next to me, Karina, she turned to me and she was like, hey, I'm just like catching up on life, because I know her and I've known her for 6 years, but we aren't like super, super tight. And so we were just like chatting what's going on. I was telling her everything I was doing, and she's like, Cam, like that's so incredible. And then she kind of paused and she was like, have you ever thought of like what God could do for you if basically you stopped doing it yourself?
Wow.
And
wow.
Basically if you stopped striving so hard to the death of you, that God would actually have room to show up and work. And when he brought things, you would know it was of him because you weren't the one doing the striving. Because obviously I can work super hard and gain a lot of things in this world, but how will I know if it's really of me or if it's really of God?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so that kind of rocked me. And so going into 2023, it was that big year of not only rest in terms of my physical rest, but rest in terms of, okay, let me give some things up to God. And truly, like I'm blanking on the most cliche saying now, the let go and let God.
Yeah.
Like truly that, let go and let God. And then, so that was the rest side of things. And then the prepare side of things were quite honestly I'm 24, which is still young, but I feel like I'm ready for a relationship, point blank, period. But then marriage was the goal. Marriage was the goal. Being a mom is the goal. And so I was just like, all right, like if I'm single as a Pringle, and I have been for 24 years at this point, almost 25, then, and I can't control what's going to happen.
Right.
And so what I can control is what I do.
Right.
And so I was like, all right, this is going to be my year of prepare. I'm going to prepare to be a wife and a mom. Can't do it in every facet of life, but I can do it in many. And so little things like budgeting, little things like keeping my bed made every single day. I haven't missed making my bed since like April 2022. Like every single day I make my bed. Little things like that, little disciplines, making sure the house is clean, making sure the dishes are done, the dishwasher's going, when the dishes are clean, unloading them, like little things like that.
Yeah.
Building habits in my home now that I want in the future so that when I do get married, when I do have a kid, I'm not like, oh, shoot.
Right.
This is a child in front of me. How in the world do I now figure out how to be a mom? Or like, hi, husband. How do I be a wife?
Yeah.
Okay, let's figure it out today when we're already married. Like I wanted to try to do my best to already get to that place. And so that was the point of my year of prepare. And then I'll just go down the list and then we'll recap more. But so I had my words, rest and prepare. And then I had health, wealth, and home. And I just wrote fitness routine, meal prep, clean home, bed made, dishes clean, and budgeting, keep it up and keep tithing as a priority.
Right.
Mindsets, I said, similar to what I've already said, I've prettied it up throughout the year. So it's not quite exactly what I wrote down. But if God's not in it, I don't want it. If it's God's will, I won't miss it. All good things come from God, not your efforts.
Yeah.
More of God, less of me, and his presence over a social media presence. And if you've seen my Instagram bio, that's actually the top line of my Instagram bio. And I got that from Passion last year. They didn't say it. I just literally kept hearing the word presence in like everyone's sermon. And I was like, well, that's something that God is trying to tell me.
Right.
So his presence over a social media presence. And then tangible to-dos, I had Sunday equals Sabbath. I did not succeed there. I had podcast videos. I did succeed there. Look at us now. Oh, I just hit our tree.
Not the plátano tree.
Not the plátano. Dios mío. But yeah, podcast videos. That was a big goal of last year. And I did it pretty much immediately, which was awesome. But I wanted to start doing videos rather than just audio. So we might be bougie sometimes. We might be ratchet sometimes.
Hey, at least we're
doing
doing
a little
it.
bit of both today.
At
but
least
it's
we're
okay.
doing it.
At least we're doing it. One day we'll get a legit studio. I pray that in Jesus' name. Play Repeat our merch launch number 2. That happened pretty quickly, and I don't even know what we're on now. But we did
no clue.
We did the second launch. We did the pink collection. We've done.
We're
feel
just
like
on a
things
roll.
here and there.
I say we like I do.
I was gonna say. I feel like I'm like we. You are wearing it right now.
I am.
She is wearing the first ever little cowboy smiley.
It's so cute.
Fun fact, that is the first one ever produced. And then we have this one coming up, which will be super fun.
Yeah.
Which this one, we're going to talk about more. But this next collection is even more so about just like joy and fun and continuing that theme a little bit, which the pink collection was a little bit of that too. So yeah. And then social media boundaries. I did not check that one off, but I'm still working on it. We're still working on it. I'm currently on a fast, which is good. That's one thing I loved doing last year was a fast to start my year for a whole month. And I'm doing it again this year.
So good.
And it's so funny. And I say this to every comment. We'll get into this more. But this year specifically, it's been really interesting going on a fast in this specific time period of my life.
Yeah. Really interesting.
Yeah, And I'll leave that at that till we dive deeper. Okay, moving on. Book number 2, structure and idea.
Ooh.
Book number 2 is in the works. I have the structure and the idea, and I have checked that off. I'm actually working on 2 and 3.
Wow.
Fun fact. So
Double whammy.
Double whammy, baby. And then finished reading through the Bible again. That was another tangible to-do of mine, which I did. Finished in November, I think. It was my 4th time through, and it was absolutely incredible. I'm actually going through again right now, just looking at my notes and writing down like where I underline little notes that I wrote in my Bible and writing those down like on a notes document now. And just taking note, like going literally book by book. And then verses that I have, I had Mark 5:19, I had Proverbs 14:1, Ephesians 3:20, which has really become, I feel like, my life verse and my most used verse. Proverbs 3:5-6, trusting the Lord, Matthew 6:33, seek him first, Luke 6:38, and Matthew 6:19-21. Who knows where we're at on the structure of this podcast now, but I'll also say that, as mentioned, this is my year of prepare. Mm-hmm. I'm half of me is like, I kind of want to save this to the end till we talk about passion.
You have to.
Should I just save all that to the end?
Yes.
Okay. Stay tuned.
It's too. Okay. You have to stay tuned to know.
I'll just pull it. Yeah. I'll save all of that for the end for passion. Mm-hmm. And then verses that rocked you. Do you want me to go or do you want you to go?
I'll go.
Okay, cool.
I have like 3 that really just stood out to me. Mm-hmm. This year, Matthew 9:37, the harvest is great, but the workers are few. I don't know. It just stood out to me, and it was God telling me kind of buck up and like, I need you on the field, and so let's go. The harvest is great, and the workers are few, but I want to be one of the few.
Fun fact about that verse, I have that in my book, and I say that verse, and I say, be the few, and I've always thought, one day down the line, who knows what, but like doing some book, devotional, something about, just called like, be the few.
It's great.
So don't take it because I don't have it copyrighted, so no one steals it.
No one. I will come for you with the Holy Spirit.
I just think that's so good, like, especially in today's world, like, be the few. And I write it in the first Play With Your Feet, our book, but just like being the few that actually play with their feet, or being the few that actually are a Christian and not just have a Bible verse in their bio. Like, be the few that work in the field. Like, it could go on and on and on, but I think being the few is so good. It's
so good, and it honestly brings me back to, shout out VU Church, VuCon 2019. It was the first VuCon I ever went to, and Pastor Rich preached a message, and well, the whole entire like conference was really, it was called No One Else Is Coming, and really this verse stood out to me when I read it again this year, because God reminded me that conference, like, hey, Kay, no one else is coming to do the work that I set apart for you, and like, you need to be the person that's gonna like do that with this harvest. And so I don't know, that was like a Bible verse that really stood out to me this year. And then Proverbs 15:33. This one really hit, but it said, fear of the Lord teaches wisdom, humility precedes honor. And it just reminded me to fear the Lord, because I feel like we just don't do that enough, and we just think God's up there like there's no fear, like we shouldn't be fearful of him. And no, like you should, honestly, like he is God Almighty and you should fear him, but with that you get so much wisdom out of that. And humility precedes honor. I want to be someone that is humble before I get honored for something. Like, I think honor is my calling, and I want to honor people, and I want to speak life over people, but I want to be humble and a humble servant for the Lord. And the last one was just one that God really used to get me through jaw surgery, but Romans 8:18, a lot of people know it, but it says, what we suffer now is nothing compared to the glory He will reveal to us later. And I didn't really know what my testimony through my jaw surgery would be, but I've already seen so much fruit from that, and this verse really got me through. My mom's salvation, to people that want to get the surgery, asking questions, that are fearful. I'm like, hey, I did it, you can do it, and God's got you. And so those are really the 3 verses that rocked me. And honestly, all of Isaiah 43. We'll just honestly, you can go read it.
I love that.
You too.
Yeah, I think I've heard another translation say, our present suffering pales in comparison to our future glory. And it's so good. Great. Our present suffering pales in comparison to our future glory. I haven't forgotten that since I've heard it. It's really so good. And then the other thing about like fear of God, it's so true. I think because we're not seeing like Jim Bob down the street who's wild and out. He's not getting struck by lightning anymore. like we don't really see that as common as it did happen in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
And so I think we almost have this like, I'll be good. Like
he
heaven.
He won't do
Yeah. And like
kidding.
heaven and hell is this like vague thing that, you know, whatever. But like, I'll be good. Come on now. Like, or like I'll, right before I die, I'll, you know, get salvation or whatever it might be. In hard times, that's when I'll pray to God and then I'll be good. And so I think that's so true. And just like incorporating more, which just sounds very weird, incorporating more of a fear of God into our lives, but it's a fear of God. It's not a fear of the world.
Right.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
And I think so much of like fear of God is just respect and honor for him. You know,
that's it.
Like I'm a little scared of my mom, but it's because I honor Momager so much if she's listening and now judges me for saying that. But it's because she's a total boss woman.
Right.
And I want to be her when I'm older. And I think I will be. But it's just because I have so much respect for her that I'm like, you intimidate me because you're so awesome, you know? And I think it's like that with any coach. Like, I think you always have a little bit of fear with your coaches. Right. I think you have fear with some authority. I think you have some fear with your bosses, but it's because you respect and honor them so much and you don't want to disappoint them, you know? Yeah. And so you're going to work your hardest so that they are pleased in the best way possible, of course.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. Verses that rocked me.
We had a few of the same, so I didn't say them, but.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Matthew 16:25-26. That was really the soul verse. I feel like that rocked me this year. And I forget when I first had this moment, because honestly, it might have been 2022. Obviously, I've heard the verse before.
Yeah.
But it might have been 2022 when this instant happened that I'll about say. But it completely rocked me. And so the verse, Matthew 16:25-26, says, For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. And the point that got me the most was, what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world yet forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? So what will it profit a man and if he gains the whole world yet forfeits his soul? And I just kept thinking of that, like, gain the world and lose your soul. Gain the world and lose your soul. Gain the world and lose your soul. And I felt like in my life I was gaining the world and losing my soul. And I was gaining the world and losing my joy. And I was gaining the world and losing my rest, and gaining the world and losing my peace, and gaining the world and losing anything good, because anything good is of God, and gaining the world is not of God.
Right.
And so through that, I remember I heard that it was so impactful at some season of my life, and then I preached at FCA like the day after or the week after, like really, really close after. And I finished preaching, and Pastor Mike goes up there, and he's like saying his thing to close out, and they do a little reflection moment. And he's never done this before, but he turns to me, and I can see it perfectly. He's up on the stage. I'm right of the stage. I'm standing there, and he just turns to me, and he's like, Cam, how can we all pray for you? And that was never, that they had never done that before. And I was like, oh, shoot, hi. Like, you want my prayer request in front of everyone? Okay.
Right now?
And I literally started, like, crying, like, tearing up, choking up, you know, because I wasn't, like, bawling because it's me. But we'll get to that. I was choking up, like, getting these words out of my mouth that I was just, I think I had said, like, I just really want rest. And I mentioned this verse that I was gaining the world and losing my soul. And just, I felt like I was doing all of this stuff. And for what?
Right.
Like, for nothing ultimately, you know? And so that verse really, 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 really rocked me. And I think it just stayed at a forefront of my mind the rest of the year. And whether it was related to rest, or just related to life in general, because a big realization that I had this year was that if you've heard me speak before and share my testimony, or if you've read my book, there's a line that I typically say that I'm talking about, like, when I was in the darkest moments of my life with my third concussion, going through that severe injury of just in depression and anxiety. I would always say that in that moment, there were a lot of questions that, like, whether my symptoms would subside, whether my depressive behavior would be better, and whether I would return to the normal joy that I'm known for. Yeah. Because I'm typically, and I would say still today, known for being a very joyful person, always smiling, always bubbly. I'm wearing a neon pink sweatshirt right now. Like, I never wear dark colors. Like, just, I'm a very happy person typically. And so I'd always preach that. And the way that I would phrase it was like, I didn't know if I'd ever return to the normal joy that I'm known for. And like all the things that I would list off, you kind of get when I say them that like, oh, she got it back. Like, obviously her brain symptoms subsided. Like, so she probably got her joy back. And I think I really realized this year that I never got my joy back. And yes, obviously I'm a lot better than I was there. Like, I'm not in anxiety. I'm not depressed or anything like that. But I just think that I was really restricted. And I remember, I think my brother and my mom, we were in our kitchen one day, sitting on our stools. You know, have seen my house, so you know what I'm talking about.
Hometown date.
Yes. And so I remember, I think my brother came up behind my mom and he said something to me like you've changed in years, or like whatever it was, you've changed. And I think I had. I think once I got injured, I think once I retired, I think I became a lot more cynical about life. And it was like, I went through stuff. So I'm like, all right, there's reality. But I took God out of the situation, and I think I didn't see him as much anymore in the joy of life. And because of that, I didn't have the joy of life. And so I think this year too was a big part of just like, stop gaining the world, because you're losing your soul, you're losing your joy, you're losing your rest, you're losing your peace. And so how can we get better there? And it was little things like having a conversation with you, and first and foremost telling you that I was struggling in that, surrounding myself in prayer, and making book number 2 all about joy. And so I've kind of gone on this like self-exploration now of just really studying joy in the Bible, of doing a lot of things in my own life to implement more joy. Little things like doing a merch collection that's a lot more joyful, and things that make me joy, like a bright pink sweatshirt, cowboy smileys, little things like that. Doing play dates, that was a big, I forgot to even say that was a big part of me having more joy, to get more in community, but also trick my little toxic mind that you're also being productive because it's for the business. Yay! So we're working. Like, I'll
let her think whatever she wants as long as we
still
do something.
We're still being a workaholic, but we're having joy, and it's healthy for me, and it's good for me. And so that was a lot of growth that I went through. But yeah, that verse completely wrecked me, and I could probably do a whole podcast on just like what I went through and what I learned through that alone. But it was so much of just stop gaining the world, get your soul back, get your joy back, and let's get back to God.
Yeah, and I think I'm just so proud of you, because I know like it's so hard to be vulnerable. It is not easy to sit down, whether you love someone and you trust them or you don't. It's just never easy to open up and say, hey, this is where I'm struggling. This is what I'm going through. I need your prayer. I need your accountability. And that's the hardest part of vulnerability, because once you say it, someone knows. And if they're a good friend, and if they're walking with the Lord, their first response should be accountability. And so I think you find what you're looking for when people know that you haven't found it yet. And so walking alongside you while you find your joy, and while you find your peace, and while you learn to rest, it's been so fulfilling too, because I'm seeing the fruit of just your vulnerability, you know. And so I didn't do anything but listen, and God did the rest. And so I just truly believe that vulnerability brings breakthrough, and that's where you can push through your situations and your circumstances to find what you're looking for through Christ.
Well, and I think like recently we had a really deep conversation too, and just like topics of confession and and I think it's so much easier said than done, and I've heard it preached to myself my entire life and whatever, but the minute you confess,
oh my gosh,
the freedom
you're
able to walk in, it's insane. Crazy.
It's insane.
Like the minute I told you, I was already like, I'm a little more joyful.
Thank
okay.
God. Years of holding it in, or months, days, whatever it may be, the moment you confess it out loud, it's one thing to confess it to the Lord, which you need to do. It's another thing to confess it to your community. Because you don't know their response. I could have immediately judged you, or I could have immediately turned my back on you. And of course I would never do that, but you just never know what someone's response is going to be. And so it's hard to confess, but there is so much breakthrough in confession, because that's the one thing the enemy doesn't want you to do. And so I don't know, I just love when someone's like, you know what, I'm going to put I'm going to put the enemy in his place, and I'm going to say actually what's going on. And it's going to be hard, and I may shed a tear, and I may not like how I feel, and they may not respond the right way, but I just need to say it out loud. Mm-hmm. And if the enemy is already trying to torment with you in your mind, you might as well say it out loud. Like, he knows. And so have other people praying with you and going into war in prayer and fighting the spirit alongside with you. And you see how much more freedom you get out of that instead of holding it in for so long. Yeah.
Well, I think, too, that, like, as absolutely gut-wrenching as it is to struggle alone, it's easy to struggle alone.
It's so easy.
Because you don't have to say anything to anyone. Like, it's easy to write in my prayer journal, God, I'm not really joyful. I really want my joy back. But it's hard to approach you and be like, okay, I know I haven't been the best roommate, and sometimes I'm a workaholic. Actually, all the time I'm a workaholic. And, like, when you come home from work, I don't want to just be like, avoid, go to my room and work. Like, I want to be like, okay, how was your day? Right. Okay, I have a ton of work to do. I got to go. Even last night, we had crew here at the house, and I was able to go, which was awesome.
And you were so present, which I was so proud of you. Bringing so much light to the room.
But at a certain time, I looked at you, and I had an awesome conversation with the girl, and then I looked at you, and I was like, I really have to get work done. Yeah. But I stayed until like 10 or whatever it was.
And I told her, like, go.
Yeah. Like,
I'm just so proud of you for staying for 10 minutes. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think, I don't know what the wrap-up point there, but there's balance to everything.
Yeah.
And have accountability and have people around you, and don't do life alone. Right. Because whether it is we're doing a play date, whether it's you're in a crew or a Bible study or a connect group or a small group, whether you're confessing, whatever it might be, life is so much easier done in community.
Yes.
Even though it's harder to take the step to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Okay. I can almost say the next one because this is all up my alley just a little bit.
Yeah, girl.
But what were your worship songs that were on repeat this year?
Okay.
Or, last year.
Yes.
I'm still getting this 2024 thing.
Yeah, it's confusing.
It is.
We already said a month when we met a year earlier, so
which
at
was
this point,
also me.
At this point, they probably have no idea what we're talking about.
It's fine. Welcome to our room.
Yes, our home.
This is how it is.
So I literally, because I was like, I feel like I was thinking these a little bit in terms of like, what did I feel like were my worship songs on repeat? But honestly, I was like, you know what? Let me actually check.
Yeah.
So I literally went to my Spotify Wrapped, and I was like, what worship songs are on there? Same. And so to quote the facts, I had Verge of a Miracle by Metro Life Worship because it's so upbeat and fun. And I think it really set me up for, honestly, this year, I feel like. Because that song dropped in baseball season, so I think it was like March or so. It's funny, that's how I relate my life to sports seasons. Yeah, that's what I remember most.
We should.
Yes, we should. So it dropped in baseball season, and not to explain every single song, but it literally is just talking about like I'm on the verge of a miracle, and like I'm believing that God is doing something. Like it literally says like God is doing something, God is doing something. Like no matter what, He's gonna do something. Yeah. And so I think literally just playing that on repeat put so much power in myself, and like obviously power to God, but being like, I'm gonna say it, like I'm on a verge of a miracle, I'm on a verge of a miracle every single day, I'm on a verge of a miracle, and just saying it over and over and over again, and like eventually you believe it. Yep. And eventually I think it happens. Yep. And then when whatever is next happens, you're like, that's the miracle. Right. Because I had been thinking the whole time, I'm waiting for my miracle. The minute I see anything good, I'm like, it's of God. There it is. That's the miracle. So I had that on repeat. I had Let the Ground Rest by Chris Renzema on repeat.
Love him.
He's so good. That song is fire. And
his entire discography.
Yeah. For me specifically last year, Let the Ground Rest, it was so beautiful to listen to about just simply resting and letting God do his thing. And it was all about like, if it's not timing, just let the ground rest. Like if it's not time to harvest, if it's not time to plant, if it's not time to work in the field, like just let the ground rest and let the ground rest. And then in turn, your soil will be better. So that was awesome. And then More Than Able, so good. So good. I still have that on repeat.
It's so good. Honest. Yeah, some of all my songs are like, I still listen to these.
Right? And that one, the big theme, and I recorded a podcast that is currently delayed in being produced, but it's coming out soon rather than later. Long story short, the sweet girl that we did it with, she's kind of going through some health stuff, and so we're waiting for her to be a little bit better till we release it. But stay tuned because it's gonna be so good. But we talked in that whole episode about like, who am I to deny what the Lord can do?
Right.
And I just think that's so good. And I think, again, verge of a miracle. Like, who am I to deny what the Lord can do? Like, oh my goodness, the things that God can do when we don't limit him.
Right.
We'll get to that about passion too. Everything ties in together. And then the last worship song I had on repeat was Not in a Hurry.
Love. Great songs.
We all know why.
So my worship songs, the first one's Breathe Out Your Praise by Bethel. It was my most listened to song of the entire year, which goes to show that I listen to it every single day.
I think Verge of a Miracle was my number one overall too.
Love.
So go us for having worship songs.
Well, basically the main lyric of the song is, so we breathe out your praise and we breathe in your peace. And it really just reminds me of Yahweh. Like, breathe. Like, that is just your breath, you know? And when you breathe out his praise, you're going to breathe in his peace every single time. And so being able to have those simple lyrics minister over you over and over and over was super great. And it's the best song. And so Breathe Out Your Praise by Bethel. Go listen to it. My second song was Give Me Jesus by Upper Room, which that's my song. Like,
that's literally Kay's song.
I just love Upper Room.
Because she leads it too.
I do sing it sometimes.
She dabbles.
Yeah, I dabble in worship here and there. But yeah, Give Me Jesus by Upper Room. Anything Abby Gamboa is going to send me to the third heaven. And then
what is the third heaven?
The holies of holies. The holies of holies. And then is
that where your mansion is being built in heaven?
Honestly.
That's your gold house right there. It's in the third heaven.
With the streets of gold. I can't wait to be in heaven. Not yet, but like, I can't wait for it.
It's like lightning.
I know. And then the last one is Lord of My Life by the Belonging Co. When this song dropped and I listened to it the first time, I was like, yeah, this is my war anthem. Like, I will go into battle with this song. And the bridge just says, every knee will bow, every tongue confess, but it's my joy to do it now, Lord Jesus. And honestly, it's so true. Like, of course, I pray for the day where I see my generation saved, where I see my certain family members saved, where I see my friends saved. But, like, I know, and it's in scripture, that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess, but I get to do it right now. And so never let me miss a moment where I get to bow down and give you glory, God. And so, I don't know, those songs just fired me up. I can run through a brick wall listening to them, and those are my worship songs on repeat.
I also think that last one, the every knee will bow and every tongue will confess, but I have the joy to do it now, that is also like fear of God. Yeah. Like, again, like, yeah, in the future, sure, but like, I'm gonna do it now because I have the joy of doing it now, and it's my honor and my pleasure to do it now. And it's almost like, I literally just thought of this, it's kind of like the whole vibe in sports of like, don't be a fan later. Yeah. Like, don't be a fan when Jesus comes back. Like, be a fan now. Right. Like, get in on the inside crew. Don't be a bandwagoner. Like,
we're not about that.
Don't be a fan later. That's what I have to say. All right, fun songs on repeat. Woo! This is the non-Christian songs. Yeah. not in the third heaven here when we sing these. Back down. So for me, and so I don't know if this is awkward that I've now switched to looking at my notes on my computer, but it's easier. No. So fun songs on repeat for me are anything Muscadine Bloodline.
Fun. Can't wait.
I feel like I've really loved Muscadine Bloodline for the past 2 years or so, maybe 3. But which, granted, they've also started releasing more. Like, they don't really have a ton of music out because, one, they're just kind of getting started. Not really, but kind of. They're just still growing. So not too many people know about them, and so I put everyone on about Muscadine Bloodline, and they're so good.
They're fun.
And we're going to see them! I cannot wait. That was the fastest I had ever bought concert tickets before. I remember sitting right there in front of the TV with my laptop connected to the TV.
Whoa, are we doing this?
Gonna watch a movie or something. And yeah, I was like, holy cannoli. They're in Nashville in March. Check my calendar. We don't have baseball that weekend. Text Kelsey, are you in Nashville March 24th? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, do you want to go? You were sitting behind me and you were like, yeah, I'm down to go to Nashville. And I was like, Kelsey, do you want to go to a country music like concert? Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm going to get tickets right now. Do you want Cody to come too? All right, I'm buying tickets, and like instantly bought 4. Yeah. And I'm so pumped.
No thought at all. We just did it. Yeah. And honestly, love that for us.
It's going to be so fun. Lots of Megan Maroney.
Yeah. Some of these, I saw some of your answers. I was like, I'm not even going to put them down because, like,
retweet.
We just love them together.
That's what we play in our household, which also, that's called influencing because Kay did not like country before she met me.
Nope, I was a hater.
And I am convincing her.
Yeah, which you're gonna be a little.
Morgan Wallen, I bet, is on your list.
Morgan was on yours, so I didn't, but he's for sure on mine, but someone else.
Okay. But it was so funny, like, Megan Roney and Morgan Wallen were the two artists where, like, I would come home and, like, she was already listening to them, and I was like,
you're like, what's going on here?
Like, you little stinker.
Yeah.
Look at you liking country music.
I know. Cam's
So
changed me.
I know.
She softened my heart.
But it's also, like, that's my testimony, too. Because
you're ridiculous.
I hated country music.
You did.
And then I moved to Miami, and Colby and Maddie and Haley, all my teammates, all my friends, they would play it all the time, and I was like, this is actually kind of good. Not everything. And I still don't like everything to this day. But I like a lot more now. And I find my people that I love. So Morgan Wallen, we already mentioned him too. Yep. Mr. Wives.
They're just great.
Absolutely love. Like, Mustang Bloodline and Mr. Wives are two of my favorite bands. And I got to see Mr. Wives live. Mm-hmm. So I'm about to see, like, my two favorite bands this 12 months of a year. Mr. Wives is absolutely incredible. I love them so much. They were more than I could ever ask for or imagine in a concert, and I'm so excited.
Giving Bible.
And it was a festival.
Yeah.
And so
you saw so many amazing artists.
And that too, but also it was a short set because it was a festival. So that only made me want to see them more. Yeah. And that's something you fear when you see your favorite band.
Yes.
And I was like, you lived up to the expectation and more. So that was awesome. Love. And then last one, because we started off our year.
We sure
playing
did.
This and
this year.
I haven't listened to it yet this year.
I thought we played it at our
at the house. Yeah,
at the house.
We've been on a worship or secular music fast, so not solo. But yes, we played it on New Year's at our house.
We just had to.
It's a must. It is Woman of the Year by Calvin Harris.
Oh baby.
That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, you just gotta go listen to it. You will feel empowered.
Not holy, but it is there.
So for me, anything Madison Ryan Ward, she is a Christian artist, but I just love her. She's not like what you expect.
She's a vibe.
Yeah, she's just such a vibe, and I just love her so much. The entire Higher album by Chris Stapleton. Like, I will say,
woo,
yeah,
makes me melt.
Yes, I love Chris Stapleton. Yeah. I love him so much, and I will literally never stop loving him. All of Sabrina Carpenter's music.
Oh my gosh, yes. I don't know why I didn't put that on there.
All of Sabrina Carpenter. Yeah. We have been on a Sabrina Carpenter kick in this home
ever since he dropped that album.
Yes, I've
been obsessed.
It's just so good. And then of course I just love my little indie bands. Like I love Phoenix and The Strokes and Arctic Monkeys. Yeah. And I don't know, just so many fun little bands. One of my friends is a drummer for a band, and they're coming here in April, and so that was the quickest I've ever bought tickets, and I was like, they're coming, and I bought them. Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna go see them.
Revolution Live.
Yep.
I need to mark my calendar.
Please come, it'd be so much fun, and it's Flip Turn. You guys should all come. Little plug for you guys. They're gonna be at
great little
Live,
fun venue.
April 25th. It's such a small little intimate venue.
It's fun, and
I love going to small little bands and seeing them go and like play. And sometimes I'll buy tickets where like I don't even know who they are. Mm-hmm. I'm like, hey, let's just go see if they're good and if I like them. And I've done that once, and like. There's a band called Half Alive. I really love them.
Oh, yeah. They're so good.
They're so good. And I knew, like, one or two songs, but I was like, let's just go. And one of the best concerts I've ever been to, and I've gone to so many concerts in my life, but that's probably one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Love that. I mean, they're good enough to be throwing a concert, so, you know. Alrighty. One of our favorite questions from We're Not Really Strangers is always if you could title your life right now, if you could throw a chapter title on your life, what would it be? So kind of taking that question, but if you could title last year, what would it be?
Restoration. Fully. I just think God restored so many things in my life that I didn't even know needed to be restored, from just childhood trauma to relationship trauma. So many things got restored. Passion got restored. Wink wink. And I don't know, I don't really feel like I've fully processed how much he's restored, because I feel like he just restored so much. But I do know that he just lit a fire in my faith and reminded me that, like, his promises are always going to be fulfilled. And it just felt like a year of promises fulfilled. And so I think that we don't consider how much he restores. But he really did a work in me last year and just reminded me that, like, when you ask for him to come in and invade your situations and restore your situations for his glory and for the good, he will do it with a humble heart. And so I'm really thankful that I feel completely set free from a lot of things and from a lot of thought patterns and emotions and anxieties and fears, and like I no longer like just cave and conform to those, but God's restored them and he's given me new perspective on all the bad that happened. He's turned it all for good, and it's truly a Romans 8:28 year for me. So yeah,
love
restoration, baby.
That's so good.
Yeah,
I think mine, I go back and forth because I'm like, is this really what I would do? But I think it would be, is from go to let go, or let go, or something along the sense. Because, and I think the reason why I question that is because I started out my year literally writing that down. And so it's like, did you actually do what you wrote down in a sense? But I think it became really real for me in a way that I didn't expect. And, you know, as I said, like, sorry, my Zoom notification just popped up and it scared me. But I think we're still good. Let me check. I have premium, guys. Okay, I think it was just something about my speaker. We're chilling. Anyway, from go to let go. And I think that was because of all the reasons that I said earlier. But again, just reading my notes, like jokingly had referred to my year of prepare as that. But it was actually so true. It ended up being very accurate. I let go of a lot, from mindsets to ideas to thoughts to people to things, and so many of that more than I ever thought I would, to a great extent. And I never really even thought like that those things would be the things I would let go of in 2023, right. Even like the last days and month of 2023, now going into 2024. And I know you know what I'm talking about. And it wasn't in the sense of, hey, you need to let this go because it's holding you back. It was more of, you need to let this go because God needs to take control of it.
Right.
Rather than, because ultimately in life, it probably wasn't holding me back. Mm-hmm. But I could gain so much more if God had it in his hands. Yeah. And I think it goes back to, again, like, gain the world, lose your soul. I was gaining the world, but I was losing my soul in the meantime. And so, again, it was just like I had to give it up to God to, again, make room for him, to let him work in that area, and to give him control back of my life. Obviously, he already has it, but for me to actually surrender and give it to him, I think that was a really important part of my year. Into the sense of just like, let it go, release it to God. If it stays, then it stays. But if it moves, it moves. Right. And if it's for me, it's for me. And if it's not, it's not. Yeah. And we laugh at it when it goes by.
Yeah, it kind of like takes me back because my word of the year was fresh vision. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really see the fruit of what God wanted to do with that word until the last couple months. Yeah. And so until like August, honestly. And so, yeah, it just goes to show that, like, he'll speak something to you, but don't like lose hope if you don't see it until the end, because, you know, maybe he won't reveal why he said that to you. For us, he revealed really quick what our words were for this year, but like we said, like, we didn't see day one. We didn't get the revelation of what our words for last year were until the end of last year, towards the end of it. So yeah, I think I'm excited for 2024.
Whoop whoop, 2024. Speaking of 2024, baby.
Let's go.
Let's do it. We're only an hour in. Woo! Now to talk about this year. No, I love this. I love it so much. Okay, so we started off 2024 with a bang.
Bang.
As we love to do. You've done it a couple times. I've done it 5 times. And we are simply talking about Passion Conference.
What a time.
Passion Conference 2024 kicked off January 3rd through the 5th in Atlanta, Georgia, led by Passion City Church, Louie and Shelley, Sadie and Christian, and a million other people.
Incredible people.
Who led worship, who spoke, who did amazing things at the conference. And if you don't know Passion Conference it is a Christian conference, I guess, as you would say, that basically is just a million church services put into one. Yeah. And so it's literally just like you have your worship, then you have your sermon, then you have your worship, then you have your sermon, and then like basically that back to back to back. Obviously some other things put in there, but that's pretty much what it is. So you're getting poured into a ton, and it's amazing, and you get wrecked, and
yeah, I think
awesome.
the coolest thing for me about it is like, it's, of course you have your people that are serving, but the main audience is that these people are all from the ages of 18 to 25.
Yeah.
And so you're with 55 to 60,000 young adults, which is insane to me. Like, they could be anywhere, and they are from everywhere in the world, but they could be anywhere in the world. And they choose for 3 days to come to Atlanta, Georgia, and seek God. And that's just so cool to me.
Yeah, and even cooler too is that I was talking to, same conversation I mentioned earlier that I was having this morning with a friend of mine, and she is Catholic, but she went to a Catholic conference, similar but less people. And she was like, I had no idea these things existed. And I was like, yeah, I just went to Passion. There were 55,000 there. There's VuCon. Like, we have a Revive conference at Metro. Like, there's so many church conferences that bring in thousands of people, whether it's 1,000 or 55 to 70,000 at Passion. Like, it gives you so much hope.
So much hope.
Because obviously the lives we live, we're all separated. We're all spread out. We all have gone into the world, the Great Commission. But it's really cool to come together and be like, oh, shoot, we got an army going. And it's just young adults in there.
And
it's so cool.
Like, you don't even see the high schoolers that are on fire. The middle school, the people that are older than 25. You don't see it. You just see.
And that's such a small segment.
Such a small.
And, like, there's so many older.
Yes.
Outside of that, obviously, like, because 25 years of your life is that first 25. But then, like,
you got the generals and the
you got 50 more years of people after that. Like, you know, like, it's crazy.
It's actually
really
insane,
cool.
and it fires me up so much.
Yeah.
Obviously we live in Miami, Florida, and the culture in Miami sometimes it's a tough city to reach for Jesus. We'll just say that. And you grow up with people that are really hard-headed, or maybe just not super receptive to Jesus. And you can sometimes feel a little alone, especially being young, and you see all these people move from all over the place for college to Miami, and they can either get plugged into the world or get plugged into Jesus. And when you go to Passion, it puts it in perspective of like, okay, these people are doing the same things for their campus. Like take heart. Like, keep going, keep fighting, keep running the good race. My campus is going to get changed just like theirs. And it really, like, gives you fresh perspective and fresh vision for what you want for your friend groups, for your crews, for your life groups, for your church, for your small groups, for your young adult groups. Like, you just gain so much perspective, and your eyes are open, and you see that this is so much bigger than just you and your little city, you know?
And I think the good point of that, too, is that it takes the pressure off of us, I feel like.
So much.
Because they had a moment where you prayed in triangles, which we prayed in like a hexagon. Because we had so many girlies we wanted to pray with. But you were praying for your campus, basically. So obviously 18 to 25, a lot of these kids are related to a university. And so it was all praying for the campuses you were at. And we had UCF, we had Miami, we had FIU, Auburn. Like, we were just kind of everyone in the community. And so with that, though, you're dividing and conquering. And so it's like, yeah, we're going into the world to save the world, but you have help. Again, community, we've already mentioned in the podcast. Like, all right, I got UM, you got FIU, you got UCF, you got Auburn.
Yeah.
Like, we will split up, we will divide and conquer. We will build our own little teams, and we'll go from there. And so I think it's just comforting to know, like, all right, cool. Like, I just have to focus on Miami. I don't have to focus on the world right now. Like, I just have to focus on Miami. I just have to focus on UM. I just have to focus on Coral Gables. I just have to focus on my job, my career, like, whatever it might be.
My circle, my pond.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it takes the pressure off us. And in turn, you don't have to stress about everything else. You can pour more into what you're already doing.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Passion just, it sets you up for your year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And as much wrecking as like
it slaps you down, and it lifts you up.
But it builds you up. Yeah. Like, it breaks you down and builds you up. And I always think of like God reopening wounds that weren't healed properly to heal them properly. Yeah. I feel like that's Passion. Yeah. Like, Passion's like, okay, let me like break down some barriers and some walls in 2023 that didn't get really fixed yet, because I want you to go into 2024 strong. Yeah. And I think as you get broken down, you're being broken down, but like, you feel so good about the breaking.
It's like a release.
It's such a release.
You're breaking chains. That's what you're breaking.
Yeah, literally. Like, full freedom is coming out of Passion. And I'm so grateful that I went this year, and to kind of just start the Passion debrief.
Yeah.
I went in 2022. Here we go.
This is wild.
Yeah, this is actually like God ordained and orchestrated every single small detail ever. And I'm gonna get a little vulnerable, but let's just do it. I think, like I said, vulnerability brings breakthrough, and maybe you need to hear this too. But I went to Passion 2022, and honestly, in a place where we just spoke so much life about passion, I had the worst passion experience ever. Like, I went with people that, Lord bless them, but it was awful. Like, I was with my ex at the time, and like, it just wasn't a good vibe. I didn't want to go in the beginning. Like, the one gift I've ever prayed for in my life was discernment, and I was really discerning that I just wasn't I don't think I wasn't not supposed to be in the room, but I just don't think I was supposed to go with people that I went with. Yeah. And it was a rocky season in my relationship, a rocky month, but also passion. It was just rough. Like, I couldn't focus, and it was bad. And so passion for me has always been tainted by trauma and by fear and by hurt, never by things that the Lord intends passion to be. And so, of course, Cam comes into my life, and she's from Atlanta, and Passion was her church. And so she's like, hey, Kay, I'm going to Passion. And I don't necessarily test God, but I will say I'm not doing things unless God does it for me type girl. And I was like, God, I'm not going to Passion. Like, Cam, go ahead, girl. Live your life. I'm so glad you're going. I'm so glad you love it. I didn't think I had like a major block with Passion anymore.
It wasn't like a thing either. It was just like I was going.
Yeah, she was like, I'm going,
and that was it. It wasn't even like Kay is not going. Like, no. It was just I was going.
And internally, I was like having a whole battle, and so they have Passion scholarships, and at the time, I wasn't necessarily financially ready to buy a Passion ticket, but I also was like, I'm either gonna do it now or never. And so I was like, as a funny little joke, I was like, God, if you want me to go, just like I did with school, if you want me to go to Passion, I'm gonna fill this out, and if I get a ticket, I'll go, and I'll let you work, but I'm not going if, like, I'm just not gonna go unless I'm blessed to go. And I filled out the scholarship, which that's my stubbornness speaking, and I need to work on that, but I'll just repent right now, but I filled it out, and it said, like, give us 3 to 5 days to review, and we'll let you know. 24 hours. The next day, I opened my email, and they're like, you're going to Passion. And I was like, oh, shooties. Like, are you?
Like, now I have to go to Passion.
Like, I was like, frick. I have to actually go to Passion. And I have to tell Cam. And once I tell Cam, I'm actually going to Passion. And so I told her, I was like, so I got my ticket. Like, how are we getting there? And I was like, in the beginning, I was not that excited about it. You know, I wasn't, like, ready. I don't know. It wasn't something I was excited about. And Cam was like, and you always say this, but it really sticks with me, and I've heard it so many times, but really hearing it from friends is different. When you hear things from friends, it's different. But you said, we need to go and make memories and have fun in places that you cried and didn't have fun in, and we did. Like, we had so much fun at Passion. I felt like childlike faith all over again.
Agreed.
Like, I was a kid.
That was the most fun I've ever had at Passion.
Running into Passion, going into the floor seats, seeing new friends, meeting your friends, like, it was just seeing people from VU, like, I don't know, I just so much fun. Hey, are you at Passion? Let's meet up. Like, just being a kid again. It felt like youth group all over again for me. And this was the first conference in a really long time where I wasn't serving, or I wasn't hosting, or I'm a high key leader in our church, and I just got to be served and enjoy Passion. And obviously I went with hesitation, and I was scared, and the enemy was trying it, but God really restored Passion. And so kind of my takeaways, and I'll kind of go through these quickly, was that he brought me back to the simplicity of things. And we started off Passion with, I love worship, and I grew up singing worship, and I grew up a worship leader, and with worship comes so much production and structure and order, which there is to worship. That is like biblical. However, we can strip it all away. And he really brought me back to the simplicity of the Holy Spirit, and where you can just connect and dive in such raw moments. And then it reminded me of childlike faith and being a kid again and having fun again. Pastor Earl's message, No Deal, that one really hit me hard, because I won't let the enemy attack me on big things, but he gets a hold of the little small things. And then when that piles up, it's a big thing. And so he preached a message basically saying, you got to tell the devil no deal. Like, I'm not making deals with you anymore. I'm not conforming to small little things that you do in my life that add up to big things. And so I'm just like walking in that, like, no deal, no deal, no deal. And Pastor Earl is also an elder in VU Church, and so I just have like a huge respect for him. Pastor JP said, "More fun, less scars."
Yeah, I've
and
always
that's
loved that.
one of my favorite takeaways, because I think this year I'm going to go into my year of sobriety. I don't obviously drink like crazy, but I'll have one every month, every 2 months, every 3 months. I just want to be completely sober, no alcohol at all, and just have a clear mind. And so I'm going to do that. We'll see how it goes. I don't have anything against alcohol, but I just don't want to drink it this year. And then walking out my healing, knowing that like I'm healed, and the work that he did through those 2 years since Passion to now is real, and I am healed, and I have to walk it out, and I have to choose to fight every single day and remind myself that I'm healed.
Yeah.
I'm on fire for my generation. And then the last thing, kind of to recap 2022 to 2024, was that my word of the year in 2022 was new thing. And God spoke that to me before Passion Conference, and they released a song called New Thing at Passion Conference, and it was like a crazy God thing for me. But this year, the song New Wine by Brooke Ligerwood is like an anthem in my life ever since it came out. And Jenny Allen was just speaking about, or not Jenny Allen, Christine Kane was speaking about how like wine and it fermenting and it being good wine. And so this year, really the theme of my year is new wine. He's like, the wine was fermented these past 2 years. You really did heal. You really did grow. I really did do a work in you, and you may not have felt it and you may not have seen it, but I'm going to put opportunities and things in place for you to see that the wine is good now. And he did the first week of the year. But really, that's my Passion recap. I don't think I had huge, crazy moments, but I think I had a lot of small, really impactful moments that are going to guide and shift my 2024.
So good.
Yeah.
All right. My Passion debrief.
Here we go. You actually really want to hear this. Like,
it's crazy.
Coolest
so,
story.
It's funny because funny's not the word, but I'm using it anyway.
We say a lot of things are funny when
right,
it's not
right.
the right word, but whatever.
Not funny, haha, but you know.
Funny hee-hee.
Funny hee-hee. So I truthfully, which we're all going to relate to this, still need to process Passion.
Yes, I have not actually fully.
And I think I need to do it more so in the fact, which not more so because everything, but more so in the fact that like I need to look back over my sermon notes and kind of more like what I learned from the sermons.
Right. Because
I got wrecked day one.
Girl, he came for your head. He said you.
Immediately.
I want you.
Immediately got wrecked.
Yeah,
and so
I don't think I was ready for that.
no, I don't think anyone in there was ready. And y'all aren't ready for this. But so with that said, I think like that was such a big God moment, like between me and God, that the rest of the conference was kind of just like confirming things that happened in that moment. And I need to go back and be like, oh, what did you actually preach about? Let me look back at that. Let me look back at my notes. Because I was just like so overwhelmed in a good way and just like so completely in the presence of God in focusing on what I was focusing on in a good way, I believe. Yeah. So I don't really have like key takeaways in the terms of like sermons that shocked me most or hit me most. But it was all really good.
She got a story.
But I got a story. And I feel like I was trying to think, like, comparing all my years at Passion Conference of, like, 2020 was the first year that I went. And I have a crazy story from there. And it was, well, that was when I was severely concussed. So that was already a crazy story. But, like, other things that happened that made it crazier. And then 21 was during COVID. So that was just online. And so I don't really remember as much from that one. Right. But, you know, no one remembers anything from that season. And then 2022... I wrote about in my book, but I was like rocked in the sense that, 2022, rocked in the sense that like that was when I went there alone, which I wasn't planning to be alone, but I was, and then I ended up meeting like some of the best friends that I have to this day that all came over before Passion, and we did our own Atlanta play date, which was so fun to be around them. We had a fire going, that was good. But that was awesome. And it's just like that Passion really changed my life, in a very outward way. Having those people in my life, I would have never met if I wouldn't have gone alone. Right. And Jenny Allen's sermon still wrecks me to that day of she literally told everyone like, turn to your neighbor and confess your deepest, darkest secrets. Like, okay, go. Like that's literally what she did. She preached for 5-10 minutes and then was like, all right, your turn. And then she sat on her little crates on the stage and that was it. So that was crazy. And then 2023, last year, I feel like last year I was just kind of like soaking in. Like I was with Hannah, which was so special. And I was with Hannah again this year. But I feel like I was just like taking it all in. Like I feel like it was just like a chill passion last year. And maybe too because it was at State Farm Arena rather than Mercedes-Benz. So I feel like it was also different because of that. It was just like chill last year. It was good. It was good last year. And then this year,
I'm gonna take a seat.
yeah, this year was crazy. I feel like I've never been wrecked this hard before. But I don't know, because God's done a ton of things in my life and given me a ton of words, and I've realized a ton of things before. But this was just different.
Yeah, it hit a different part of me.
Yeah, it hit my tear ducts, for one.
It hit a root, we'll say that.
It busted a pipe, baby.
Yeah.
There were floods. God said he wouldn't flood the earth again, but I was questioning him on that night. It was wild. Okay, so what happened was... Let's go to the beginning. Back to what we were saying earlier. I'm going to try to tell this in the best story possible, but it's probably going to be jumbled. Back to what we were saying earlier about my year of prepare. Mm-hmm. So my year of prepare was about... I'm going to try so hard not to laugh. Was about, of course, preparing to be a wife, preparing to be a mom, all the things. So I was really working hard. I had some potentials at some points. And then my mentor told me, she was like, Cam, you need to go on more dates and you need to have more guy friends. And I used to have a ton of guy friends. Right. And then I went smaller to kind of just having like select guy friends and then being really, really close, which was good. But, you know, I'm like, sure. Okay, Joy, I got you. Ironically, her name is Joy. And so I was like, okay, Joy, Dr. Beverly, like, yes, ma'am. I will go on more dates and I'll have more guy friends. So I was like, 2023, we're going on more dates. This was like later half of the year because she didn't tell me that until like August or so. And so I went on more dates. I went on like 5 dates in like 2 months, which I've literally gone on like one first date my entire life. So that was a big jump. We had a roster. None of them made the cuts. Oh, that's funny. Anyway, but nothing to them at all. No. If anyone by chance is listening, it's not to you. It's not you, it's me. It really was. But it really was. And so anyway, so I like kind of checked my box of going on the dates, and it was really good for me because I don't want to sound bad, but I went out with a lot of people that I never thought I would go out with. And people that were shorter than me, people that were skinnier than me, like little things like that where I'm just like, it's the shallow things, yes, but there's still things that, you know, and I think through that too was also confirmation that your battery is low. That wasn't the confirmation, but your battery is low.
Oh no, what are we going to do?
Wow, we were just getting into the tea. I'm a daughter of John Dobbs. You know I have batteries. Hey. Hey, what's up? Hello. Okay. All right, so we are back and we are better than ever, and Kay is fully charged with her batteries, which is good.
Yeah, I'm always usually the problem. So.
It's okay. It's my equipment, so it's you and me both, buddy.
It's fine.
Hopefully we didn't cut out too much. If you heard an awkward change in audio, that would be why, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, anywho, it's all good. So continuing my passion story. Where was I? So my year of prepare, boys on the roster.
Boys on the roster got
boys
cleared.
on the roster got cleared. I realized some things. What are you looking at?
There's a little bug.
Oh, I thought it was like a spider. He's on the wall. He's just trying to talk. He just have something to say.
You're pointing like
no. He's like over that way. Hey, buddy. What if you listen back and you hear something?
You hear something. No, thank you.
Have you seen Bug's Life?
Yes.
Great movie. Are you scared?
B movie?
That wasn't my fave. I'm more of a
either.
Bug's Life.
Thank you for that because everyone comes for me.
No, I'm not. No.
It just wasn't it.
Yeah.
Wasn't the vibes.
That's not my movie for 2024.
Not at all.
Or 2006 when it probably came out. He's just a little gnat.
Yeah, the little gnat's gonna die.
Don't squish my white walls.
No,
though.
Never.
Anyway, continuing.
Go ahead.
So, dates, guy friends, all the things.
Right.
We did it. We checked the box. We went nowhere with it.
No.
And granted, I went through some like heartbreak through like after some of those, just realizing some things.
Yeah.
And realizing like people that I had liked before and letting go of them, missing them, wishing I had certain things that like they had in the other people, and then going through just like getting over them. And that was hard. That was really hard. And it's still hard. But anyway, so through all that, I'm going through my year of prepare, be a wife, all the things. And I get through all of this journey of going on these dates, doing all this stuff, working to be a wife. And I end up in like November, December. And I'm like, you know what?
Dude.
I'm actually so content with being single.
My mouth at the floor.
And it wasn't in the fact that like, I've been single my whole life. 24
Yeah.
years I've been single. Never had a boyfriend. Had crushes here and there. Sure, went on some dates with guys, but like never had a serious relationship at all. Never had a boyfriend. And so through all that, I got to the point in my singleness where it wasn't just that like I'm content right now and I'm praying for the future husband. It really got to, and I kid you not, because I've never said this before.
It's real, I promise.
But I got to the point where I'm so content in my singleness that I literally told God, I was like, if I never get married, I'm chilling. If I'm never a mom, I'm chilling. Like, because I'm so good at being single.
Yeah.
Maybe to a fault.
In the good way, you're good at it.
Yeah. But I'm so good at being single, and I'm doing so many impactful things, both in career, secular world, but also with Play Where Your Feet Are, with my business here, like with writing books, with my own relationship with God.
You're popping off.
With everything that I'm doing it so well as a single human being. And I fully know one thing that I've definitely learned and realized the past couple of years, both in seeing my friends get married, and just growing up and getting older and knowing reality too, it's just like, you have so much freedom being single, so much freedom. And I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I really like my freedom.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to give it up right now.
Right.
Like, I thought previously, like, nah, I think I'm willing to give it up. Like, not the sense that I'm ready because of that, but just like, yeah, I'm ready to give that up. But now I'm like, no, not at all. Like, no, sorry. I'm just not. Like, I just love what I do. And unless you run seamlessly into my life with me and we don't skip a beat, like, I'm just not even interested in slowing down, even if it's for the best guy.
Right.
Not right now. And maybe not ever. But right now, like, that is completely my mindset that, like, God, if I stay single forever, then I'm good. I'm chilling. And there is so much freedom in that.
So much
Also, just so much freedom in knowing that I'm, like, I don't have to go on dates. Like, just, like, the little things like that. Like, I don't gotta worry.
I don't have to
worry about anyone flirting with me. Like, anything. Like, it's so much freedom in that. And so it's just been, that was a huge realization, obviously. And I'm really excited for what's to come out of that, because I'm just like back to doing my own thing, and like I love doing my own thing. And again, maybe it sounds selfish, but I believe it's all for God. And so if it's selfish in the sense that I'm choosing myself over someone else, some other human, then yeah, 1,000%. But it's because of what I believe God can do with me this year, years to come, maybe forever.
Yeah.
So that was just going into Passion Conference,
really
something
quick,
on my
though,
mind.
To that, though, like, Pastor Troy says, like, stewardship is not selfish. It's soul care.
Yeah.
And you're just stewarding your singleness.
Yeah.
And that's soul care.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's great. We don't talk about it enough. Women are allowed to be single and enjoy it. And they should. And we should be able to live this and walk this out healthy and in the right heart posture with confidence that's not prideful, but actually Godfidence.
Yeah. And it's definitely something that's not talked about. But I don't know if I truly don't know. I don't know if it's something that's not talked about, or if not many people or women are truly like that, or truly like that. Like me, however many months ago, wanted to be married. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just very content. I'm like, I will happily be single the rest of my life. Like, I don't feel like God is calling me to be a wife, calling me to be a mom. If I end up like that, amazing. Great. I'm going to kill it. But if I don't, then like, I think God is just calling me to be me right now. Agreed. And be me forever, and be me if I'm married, and be me if I'm a mom, and do what I do, and do what I love, and do what I'm doing to impact him and its kingdom. So yeah, so like if anyone needs to hear that you can be single forever,
And
I'm
be
saying
content with Jesus.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah. So I'm saying that if anyone needs to hear that, if no one else is like me, then it's fine. Because I'm just going to do it for
be the
I'm
few.
doing it for
be
the rest of us.
few.
I'm doing it for the rest of us. But yeah, men are great. Don't think this is anything
incredible.
against men at all. Men are great.
Yeah.
And the men that were in my life last year were absolutely fantastic as well.
Yeah.
I was treated great. Anyway, moving on. So, Passion Conference, though. So, that's just literally to give you background of the context of what is going through my brain. Like,
yeah,
in November, December, that was very fresh realization for me. And then going into January, this was a realization. Now, backing up a little bit, I hope you don't mind me sharing. I don't think you do.
No.
Kay got a purity ring.
I did. Which one should I show it to?
Pick your camera. So, yes, she got a purity ring. It's beautiful. It has a little ruby.
Yeah.
Because we are more precious than rubies.
We are more precious than rubies.
And so she got that. And I've always thought, as Christians probably do, maybe I'll get a purity ring. You know, like it's cute. It's not trendy, but it's cute. And so Kay got one. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll actually get a purity ring. Like, I love that she did. I love what it stands for. Like, I love just everything about it. And so I was like, maybe I'll do that. And I wasn't by any means sold. But I'd say as the days and weeks went on, I was probably like 75 to 90% sure I was gonna get one.
Right.
But I also had no plan to do so.
Yeah.
Like I didn't have a link. I hadn't started searching yet. I didn't make time or think of when I would. I just like had it kind of in the back of my mind. And so in that, again, just little nuggets that were in Cameron Dobbs' mind heading into Passion Conference.
Yeah.
And purity is a little bit of my story too. And so it was just like, there was extra meaning behind that as well. Okay. And so I go into Passion Conference. And as Kay mentioned, this was my church and is my church when I go back home. And so I was so excited to see everyone that I knew because I knew all of my friends were going to be serving. I had some friends that were going to be attending as well. And immediately from the minute I walk in the door, Lexi is the girl handing out the wristbands, and I like give her a big hug, and I wanted to take photos with everyone that I saw, knew, and loved. So I like immediately grab my wristband and I'm like, take a picture. And so we like get a picture together. And then I kid you not, 20 more yards go by and I see my friend Emily and like we get a picture together and like smile. And then I go 20 more yards and by the bathroom, it's Victoria and Scarlett. We get a picture together and then we go and we walk into, this is literally like, and this all happened in like a matter of 30 seconds. Literally, like all of these interactions. Yeah. Because we're getting ready to go into Passion, like getting our seats and stuff. And we got on the floor. So we were just, getting to move on. So we keep going, and sweet little Katie, which we remember her name.
Shout out to
Katie, the door holder that was on the floor.
Incredible
finding seats for everyone.
Leader.
Yeah. So Katie finds Hannah, Kay, and I. Hannah was our other friend that went. Sweet Hannah, our favorite.
Love you, Hannah.
We love you, Hannah. And we were all walking in together, and she's like, oh, 3 of y'all? Like, I got y'all. Come with me.
Perfect seats
Yes, perfect seats for you. And so we go, and we put our stuff down, and Kay stays, and then Hannah and I go to the bathroom. And I think I'm going to share that portion at the end of the night of Passion Night 1 in that context. But Hannah and I go away, and then we come back, and we go through the first session. And so we're going through this first session. There are 2 people on the left of us before the aisle.
Yeah.
One is a mom and one is her daughter. And her daughter was 19 years old. And the mom being there anyway was already not normal because, as we've mentioned, Passion Conference is for 18 to 25-year-olds.
Yeah.
And so to have a mom sitting and not serving was already just like different. There's nothing wrong about it, but it was just different. And so anyway, we don't think anything of any of this. Kay talked to her before.
Little backstory. I just saw the daughter and I was like, I'm here alone, let me talk to her.
Because we were in the bathroom, as mentioned.
I was like, I'm sitting here alone, might as well start some conversation. But
yeah, so they like talked a little bit before, then when we got to the bathroom we talked to them a little bit before, and then it started.
No,
so
we just kind of did our own thing.
Yeah, we just kept going. And so we go through night 1. Sadie Robb preaches. Really cool. 15 minutes, the entire Bible.
The entire Bible in 15 minutes.
No application to your life, straight, these are the facts.
Convicting and inspiring.
Yes, very much so. It was really cool to see her do that and do it so well. And everyone, like the rest of the entire time, like the like all the other preachers, all
every
the other
single
ministers,
speaker,
like everyone was like, how in the world did she do that? Like, how in the world did she do that? Like, it was literally so cool. Go watch back Passion Conference messages because they are up if you get the Passion app.
Until January 31st.
Yes.
So go watch.
So hurry, because I also don't know when we're posting this. Anyway, so she preaches, and she said something at the end too that was just very much like, as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord, because she was talking about bringing her own children into this world and how it's scary and it is tough. But she's like, I like, buck up. Like, as for me and my household, we're going to serve the Lord. So like, devil, not today.
Right.
Like, I'm fired up. Not on my watch. She said that, not on my watch. Like, I'm doing everything I can. And so as she was saying that, she was so fired up and passionate that she was crying. And so we were already like crying with her. Like, if Sadie is crying, then like, girl, come on.
I'm crying.
And it was like, again, like inspirational tears with her.
Yeah.
Just like, we are with you and we're fired up. And so we started like shedding some tears there. And then we started worshiping, and my word originally, which I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but my word originally going into this year was joy. We've mentioned already how joy has been an impactful topic of conversation in my life. And so I was like, my word of the year is joy. Everything I do is going to be with joy, to pursue joy, like finding joy. And so we start singing I've Witnessed It by Passion. And I was about to say performing. They're leading us. They're leading us in worship, singing I've Witnessed It.
So good.
And it's talking about how, like, basically what he's done, which is another great song by them. But you've witnessed God's faithfulness, and that he will do it again. And that word again just like immediately stuck to my heart. And I thought of like having joy again. And I think I broke down to my knees first. But then I was just hearing that, and I was like, that is my word of the year. It's again. And it is having joy again. It is being in community again. It is so many things just happening again. It is that God is going to do it again. Song by Elevation. Like, everything was revolving around again. Restoration, being redeemed, loving again, whatever it might be, like all around again, being born again, whatever it was all again. Going back to the best, going back to God.
Yeah.
And so I literally don't even remember necessarily like what I prayed when I was on my knees, which is strange to me because I totally remember my prayer day 3 when I was on my knees, but I don't remember my prayer day 1. But I, at one point, just started absolutely sobbing, like ugly crying, couldn't breathe type of sobbing. Like, I literally did not think I was going to recover. Like, I was like, I'm going to be crying for days.
Uncontrollable.
Like, uncontrollable crying for sure. And in that moment, it was, I never told you this either, but in some situation that happened last year as well, I never really shed a tear about it. And I would think, you've seen The Holiday, right? Mm-hmm. So it was almost like Cameron Diaz, ironically, also my name. Not Diaz, but, you know,
same
Cameron
thing.
D. She cannot cry in the movie if you've never seen The Holiday. And she, like, tries and forces herself, like, to, like, come on, tears, and fake it. And she just can't cry. She can't until the end of the movie, and she finally cries, and it's a big thing. But I had never cried about that situation. And I had thought, like, all right, God, like, let me just feel something. Like, let me do something. And I never did until that moment at Passion. And it was waterworks on floods. And I think that was so much release of like, I haven't given that up fully yet. I'm still growing through that. I'm still letting it go. But like, that was a big step of just like, even the grieving process, even the healing process, like finally being able to get to that moment where I could cry, to where I could, whatever that meant, but just give it up and release it. And so I felt like it was chains being broken. And then you came alongside, you were sitting next to me, and you just like put your hand on me and started praying aloud for me. And then that happened, and I was like crying even harder, just like going. And then I think I stopped praying and just listened to you because it was really powerful anyway. And then you finished, and you were like, I've been holding that in for a while.
Yeah, I did. Also, I just felt like, listen, my discernment be telling me things. And there was a battle going on in the spirit over Cam. Like, genuinely, this is the reality of our faith. Like, they're spiritual warfare. And I just, like, saw it over. And I was like, not on my watch. Yeah. And so I was like, I don't know what she needs, but I've held in this prayer for a fat minute. Yeah. So I just went in.
Yeah. And not to say it in a weird, like, I was seeing things or anything type of way. But in a metaphorical standpoint, it did really feel like me, like on the ground, full surrender, I don't know if even surrender was the thing. It was more so just like help.
Like vulnerability. Like you were just vulnerable.
Like I'm just here at your feet, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like I'm just here and I don't know what to do anymore. And here I am. And then you praying over me. And then I just felt like it was like literally spiritual warfare, like battlefield above us just going. And like you were just on me. God was protecting me, like everything. Crazy. So it was just so powerful. And then like once it happened, I was like really fine. Like I really was. I got up, I wiped off my tears. Well, granted, I was like wiping off my tears like, the whole time down there.
But you were like still like you were just
in
it.
Yeah. But I got up and Hannah was like, your makeup still looks flawless. I was like,
and it did.
Yeah, it really did. That was the amazing part.
Like
when I got home and saw myself in a mirror, I was like, oh, it actually okay, drugstore makeup products.
Go ahead.
I don't pay any big dollar on any of my makeup. So yeah, I will drop the links of. I'll do my makeup routine for you all once I get back on social media. I'll be like, this is your passion, waterproof,
God-wrecking
makeup tutorial, and
you're welcome.
So yeah, but for all seriousness, so that was like a big moment for me.
Yeah.
And then it was funny because that was not the end of the night. And so the night keeps going on for a little bit longer. And I thought to myself, and I had told you this and Hannah when we debriefed that night, but I almost thought to God, like I was almost playing devil's advocate with myself because I thought on the devil on my shoulder, I thought it would be so easy to forget this moment because the night is young. We're just getting started.
It's day one.
A million things are still going to happen. More Crowder came up, super fun, super hype, like all the things. And I was like, I could easily forget this and not even tell y'all about like why that moment was really big for me. We can move on and like life will be good. And I'm chilling and I don't have to say anything. And then the angel on my shoulder, I was praying to God, don't let me forget. Don't let me forget. Don't let me forget. Don't let me, like, do not let me forget. I want to have a conversation with them tonight. Like, I want to talk about this. I want to be held accountable. Like, I want to have this moment.
Yeah.
And so it would have been so easy, again, just to forget and not have the conversation. But thank God that I didn't. And thank God that he kept reminding me throughout the night. And as things almost passed throughout the night and it got friendly and happy and joyful again, at the very end of the night, we talked about the mom and the daughter that were with us. And we literally wrap up everything. We finish the night. We're collecting our items. We are saying goodbye. We're about to walk out of our aisle or walk out of our row. And the mom hugs me. And I'm literally like, yeah, girl, like, we hope to see you the rest of conference.
So
like,
happy,
it was
Cam.
so good to see, like, so glad we sat together. Like, hope to see you tomorrow. And I, like, release back from the hug. And then she, like, brings me back in. And she's like, I just feel like God is telling me to tell you and to convict you that you're not asking God for enough. And that you're limiting God by asking for less. And I was like,
whoa. Excuse me?
Okay. And to be quite honest, I knew that was a very powerful moment, but very quite honest, blunt. I didn't know exactly how specifically it was applying to me. Now, in that sense, though, I have been thinking of that moment and what she said ever since because I'm like, where am I not asking God for enough? Truthfully, like, let me really dive deep into my prayers.
Where, she didn't just say it to say it.
Yeah, like, where can I be bigger and bolder and better? Because I do believe that I pray really big and bold prayers. I do believe that. And so still, though, it was to challenge me. Where can we do more? Where can we be more in 2024? Where can we ask God for more? And so still to this day, and I think that's one of the things that I really need to reflect on more about passion and just continue to dive deeper into my 100%. Heart and being like, where can I ask God for more? But that's not the thing that wrecked me because she keeps talking. So she says that, and this was all pretty quick too. But she says that, and then she was like, and we're like very close, like basically hugging, and her head is like talking to my face here. And she was like, all right, I just feel like I needed to like tell you that. And she was talking very stern, very serious. I feel like I needed to tell you that and convict you with that. And now I need to bless you. And she's like, she kind of said that as we're both like looking down. And granted, I'm taller than everyone. So of course I'm like,
looking down on her.
And so she does that. And then she pulls a ring off of her finger. And she just puts it in my hand. And we're like this close. So like she put it in my hand. I didn't even see it. And I like pick it up. And I put it on my finger. And I'm like,
it's actually the most insane.
It's literally.
It's insane.
Like.
It's insane.
I mean, it's beautiful.
It's the most. And it fits.
I don't think that's even on.
It fits her.
It's beautiful. But immediately, the fact it was a ring.
Yeah.
Immediately, I'm like, that's my purity ring.
Yep.
And like, I had been praying about this. And again, it would be something so easy to just forget about. And like, I didn't have to get a purity ring. Nothing was going to happen if I didn't get one. Like, it was like, no one was going to ask me about it. Like, I don't think you would have even asked me about it.
No, honestly, I wouldn't.
Yeah. And so I start bawling immediately and like hug her. And then I think I was just shocked and like didn't know what to say. So we really don't say anything. I think I just said thank you. And then like we kind of separate. And then I turned to y'all and you were like, what did she just say? Or like, what did she give you? And then I like briefly said that. And then I like turned back around to her and I was like, I just have to tell you something. I was like, I've been praying about getting a purity ring. And I literally just go, and she goes, you got one. And like, then we kind of split our ways. But it was just wild because, yes, the point that it does fit me really well.
Just, the whole
One thing too, though, it's not perfect size on me. It's a little loose, but to the point where like I'm always fidgeting with it and it's a little loose. So I have to be very conscious of it. Like if I'm loosey goosey, like it low key might fall off, like, you know? And so all day, every day, I'm very conscious of this ring on my finger. And so because of that, I have to think about this ring on my finger all day, every day. And so it has just been really cool to see like what God has done and like literally just, I mean, it's beautiful. Like I want to look at it. And so I'm reminded constantly of it. Like just so much of it was just like, wow, like it was just crazy. And then on top of that, as I shared, I ended my year so content in my singleness, but I started my year really thinking that 2023 would end with a ring. Mm-hmm. And granted, an engagement ring, but a ring. And I just remember getting this ring and I was like, God just spoke to me and he was like, this is the ring.
Yep.
All along, this is the ring that I was planning to give to you. You had to prepare, but this was always going to be the ring. And preparation, granted, just thinking of this now, like the preparation looked a lot different maybe than I even thought. Maybe I thought the whole time it was preparing to be a wife, but it was preparing in the sense that I was just preparing to be content.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I had to go through these dates to realize what I didn't want. I had to go through what I went through to realize I'm even fed up right now. And so I don't want to give my effort to that. And through that, I'm so content with what I'm doing. And so the whole time it was just crazy because it was literally like, you thought you were going to end your year with a ring. You actually started your year with one, but it was this ring. And someone else spoke and said it too, but I think it was maybe even a Crowder song, I think, just talking about the bride of Christ.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I am wifed up. I'm wifed up by Jesus, like as cliche as it sounds. But it was so, so cool to just be like, to really have a big God moment like that was really cool and really special. And like something that is so evidently God. Because there is no way that I could ever orchestrate that story. Ever even think how that would happen.
We're not that great.
And we won't go into too much about our relationship with the people that we sat with. But it was really cool because we stayed connected through the rest of Passion. And they told us that going into day one, the mom had really, really, really prayed hard and seriously about who was to sit next to them. And she was like, I'm protecting my daughter. I'm protecting my family. We're not letting anyone just sit next to us. And so God, like, you better protect us. Whoever sits next to us, there's a purpose for that.
Right.
We are the only people.
Us three are
all
the only
conference people. In a room of 55,000 people attending a sold out crowd.
Sold out.
To sit next to them.
No one sat on their right or their left.
And
any
that is
session. That
literally
is unheard of.
Impossible.
Yet
it happened. We were the only people. So that was shook as well. So yeah. And then the other thing that I'll share is that I'm working on a sermon right now for speaking at FIU come the 24th. And I really need to work on that. But I'm writing about God working when you don't see it. And something else happened at Passion, which I won't go into, but I won't go into fully. But I literally have photo evidence
of protection
of God protecting me.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely wild, and protecting everyone in the photo.
Yes.
Everyone in the photo is protected. But it's very rare that we can see God protecting us as he's protecting us. And granted, I didn't even see it in the moment because I didn't see it till I looked at the photo 7+ hours later. But just to know that, like, God's got my back, and he's working when I don't see it. And he's working when it's painful, and he's working when it doesn't make sense, but he's working all the time, was really cool. And I'm going to cherish that photo literally for the rest of my life. And it's wild.
Honestly, it's like the coolest
Yeah.
thing.
Like, if you ask me in person, I'll show you the photo and explain the story.
Coolest thing.
I just am not going to broadcast it on my social media.
We won't do that.
Maybe one day I will.
Kindness.
But it's just really crazy. God is absolutely insane. So that is our passion debrief.
Passion debrief.
And as we mentioned, passion just naturally sets you up for your year.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever, like, it's non-negotiable.
It is non-negotiable.
Which is crazy for me to say that.
Well, and I've always immediately, ironically, they haven't dropped them yet, but I've always immediately just bought my tickets. And in my busy life, in the things that I do, I'm like, I'm just buying them. Maybe one day I won't be able to go, but I'm just buying them. Yeah. So I'm already marking my calendar.
Whether you can go or not, you bless someone if you can't.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
You're making the
for sure.
It's intentional.
So passion taught us a lot. It set us up for our year, and now we are full speed, baby, into 2024.
Full speed.
So new year, new sheet, new fridge.
Yeah.
What are you putting on the fridge this year? What does 2024 look like for you?
So I think for me going into 2024. So I think the whole purity ring thing, I've always wanted one, but I always also was kind of like him, just not really, like, wasn't going to get one. I didn't want to, like, do it just as a joke, and, like, I don't know. If I was going to get one, I wanted to be serious about it, and I've always been pretty good with my morals. So for me, I was like, why am I going to get one? Like, I don't want to just wear something because it's aesthetically pleasing. I don't want to be that girl. And so it took a long time for me to get one, and I have really, really, really thin fingers. So every store I went into, they were like, I'm like literally a 3.5 in ring size. So that's insane.
And I'm like an 8.
No one has my ring size in store. And so I was like, okay, God, like, maybe you don't want me to get one. And I went online and I found one that I just fell in love with. And God's like, buy that. Like, it's simple. It's me. It's just me. And I got to customize it and make it how I wanted it to be. And it set me up for this year because God just was like, you know, going through years where it's funny that I'm a leader and I lead leaders and I lead people, and you have to have some level of confidence with that and authority with that. But in all honesty, I lack so much authority and, like, confidence within just myself, within my calling, based off what people have spoken over me, based off fear, based off other people's opinions. And so for that, I've, like, lowered the voice of God and the things he's said to me, because I didn't have authority and I didn't walk in confidence knowing that, no, God spoke that to me, and I rebuked that. But this year, God said your word is going to be pure authority. You're going to walk in authority where it's going to be pure, and it's not going to be one that steps on people and diminishes people and is like, you're wrong. No, but it's like, no, my authority came from the throne room of God, and it's a pure authority. I'm not saying because I'm prideful. I'm saying it because I have confidence from the Lord. And so pure authority, new wine, it's definitely one of those that I want to tap into more. And then no deal. I just want to be better at immediately, not waiting until later to fight the enemy on certain things that enter my mind or certain whatever, but like immediately saying no deal. So those are my 3 kind of, I guess I don't have a word, but I have like 3 phrases that I really want to focus on this year.
I think too, so I literally just thought of this now, the pure authority thing. My club that I grew up playing for was A5. But we always just said that because the full title was literally A5 Pure Volleyball. And it's kind of random. Like, pure is, I feel like, kind of a random word to put as a description for something. But A5 is like the number 1 club in the nation. And so they're the best. So pure volleyball, like the best volleyball, the most non-tainted volleyball, like the cleanest volleyball that you could play. And I think of that too in authority, that like it's your best authority and it's the right authority and it's perfect authority. and it's clean authority and whatever it might be. But yeah, I just thought that's really cool.
And Cam was with me, so she knows, like, it's not easy for me to, it might come off that it's easy for me to walk in that, but it's not, like, it's really not. So I'm excited to really tap into my authority this year.
It's no longer going to be a front for you.
Yeah,
it's going to be,
I have to do out of, like, fear.
It'll be a part of you rather than like, okay, now is the time to put on my coat of authority, and now I'm going to take it off because now I'm good. It's going to be it's tattooed on me this year. Right. Like, I'm walking in that, and it's never coming off.
I'm excited to walk in authority and have
buck
confidence.
Up.
Yeah, which
she
also
said,
comes with discipline.
buck up. Yep.
In preparation, we're switching this year a little bit.
Yeah, and on that too is, you were Fresh Vision last year, and I think a lot of me this year relates to Fresh Vision. Yeah. And it's not my word. I already kind of shared about my word being again. But it really is. And it's just, I feel like this year, I already knew going into this year it would be a lot of transition. And then I think, I told y'all this too. I was like, part of me just wants it to be like one transition so that I can really focus on that one transition. And then I was like, but God doesn't call you to be comfortable. And so I knew going into this year, I was like, I feel like it's going to be a little rocky, but it's exciting and it's proved to be true already. But amazing things ahead. And so I think this will just be a big year of new, of a lot of new. And with new, that's where that word again comes into. So it's whatever new I'm stepping into, it's God's going to do it again. God will, whatever he did before, whatever position I was in before, whatever mental state I was in before, in the best way possible, like my prime, he's going to do that again in every position that I'm in. If I'm going to the bottom of the totem pole, he's going to get me back up to the again, like in a good sense of the word.
Yeah, he's refreshing you.
Yeah, refreshing, redeeming, doing it all again. So yeah, I kind of touched more on my word, but that would be mine. And then we'll wrap up here. A couple more things. We talked about music earlier. From the worshiper herself, what are our worship songs or anthems for 2024?
Okay, here we go. So, Maranatha.
Yeah.
By Passion.
Sean Curran.
Just love it. It's so good.
Sorry, that was
so good. So good. Look Around, House Fires. I've just been listening to it a lot.
I've been playing that on
It's great. It's great. Costly by Maverick City. It's a great song. If you haven't heard it, you definitely should. On the Altar Upper Room. And the last one is a shameless plug because We Worship is incredible. And but this song, it's actually so incredible. It's my favorite song I think we've ever written as a church. And it's called Use Me, Lord. And so go listen to Use Me, Lord by We Worship. It's amazing. And it's honestly just like what I want to walk in this year. Like, I want you to use me, Lord. And it's not, one of my favorite lyrics is it says, it's the anointing, don't be impressed. And it's true. Like, don't be impressed by the things I do and what I say and how I live my life and the blessing. No, it's the anointing of God on my life. And so those are probably my anthems. Yeah, those are probably my anthems.
I love it. Use Me, Lord is literally so good. I've listened to it a million times. Mine, so I started doing this last year, I think. I think it was last year for the first time. And I literally created a playlist titled My Year. And so, look, Use Me, Lord is in my, like, most common. It's great. Whoa, almost threw my phone. So I started, as I said, making a playlist. Literally, like, this year says 2024. Last year said 2023. And so on my playlist for 2024 so far is, and it's not like only 10 songs. Like, it's kind of just as I go through my year, like what songs end up hitting me and really relating to the season that I'm in, and like what songs do I really want to repeat over myself. And so More Than Able,
great,
Maverick City, Elevation, Joy by Pharrell and Voices of Fire.
It's fun.
So
fun.
Wind and Waves, Broken Melodies.
Yep, I was gonna add that one.
Oh yeah,
it was between Costly and Broken Melodies, but I just love both of them.
Look Around,
so good.
Ready or Not by Hillsong
Great
United.
Song.
That's one of my favorite songs of all time, like worship songs of all time to this day. Amazing Grace, My Chains Are Gone.
Yeah.
Manasseh, Anna Golden.
So good. I put all the girls on it. All the girly pops. If you're watching, because of Cam. You know that song because of Cam.
Yeah. That's tears for me. Because you have to go listen to the song. You have to go listen to it.
It's incredible.
Literally, when I had Kay listen to it for the first time, and you said this, and it's so true, you were like, this is written
coming from someone who loves worship and like loves writing and loves like lyrics.
Yeah.
It's it's
written
a
to break
perfect
you.
song. It's
And
perfect.
it's written to break you.
It's so good.
Yeah. So it gets to a point that goes obviously like really slow, and it just basically talks about letting it go.
Yeah.
And
The whole album is incredible.
Yeah. The way she just sings is just like, you literally feel it in your soul, like a shift of like almost being lightweight, and just being like, holy cannoli, I can actually give up this. Like, I can actually give this to God. So it's so beautiful. Joy of the Lord by Maverick City. Another joy song. New Wine, Hillsong.
Love.
That was also on my list last year. I've Witnessed It by Passion. That was also on my list last year. First Love, Carrie Job.
Anything by the Queen.
Yes. Because of You, Anna Golden, Aiden King, also on that same album we were referencing.
Great song.
Use Me, Lord, We Worship, and Awestruck, We Worship.
Love.
After we sang it in church on Sunday, I put it on my list. I was like, yeah.
I will say, though, and I was saving these to the end, I have some anthems on here, too, that I didn't say. Steppin' by Wande.
Hey! You better tell him! Oh, you better tell him.
If you don't know who Wande is, you need to know who Wande is.
Dude.
And you need to, like, play it in a space where you can go jam.
I will plug. There's a hair. I will link my If Jesus Was a DJ
Honestly.
playlist.
Great playlist.
At the end of this episode.
That, and then I think the last one is, and I was playing it in the house actually today before we did the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
But the album is called To the Searching, the Lost, and the Found by Riders and Circuit Riders.
Yeah.
It is just like, if you love Tame Impala.
Yeah.
I don't know, just like literally Tame
Foster
Impala.
the People.
Foster the People. Yeah, like just good music. You will love this album.
Yeah.
It is just so good. You like, obviously with the lyrics, you know you're listening to Christian music, but like my friends who are not believers, I played at work all the time because I like play my music out loud so they can get saved. But I'm like, they're like, what is this? This is so good. I'm like, yeah, go listen to it on your own time. It's
fire.
Phenomenal. So yeah,
It's so good.
Those are all my.
I love it. Yeah. Literally, Love So Sweet has been this one. It's just like, it's giving Say So.
Yes.
And then like some of their songs.
One day is Doja Cat, City Girls, and
It's just so good.
it's so good.
Ready for this snap?
It's like Doja Cat, but then Steppen's like, yeah. This, back to when Kay was not a Christian.
What's your...
When Kay wasn't a Christian,
Just look at her.
she's a queen.
Fire.
Queen.
Hey. It's just like,
It's just so good.
Christians are cool.
Yes, and our music can be good. You just have to look for it.
And it can be. We just have people to do it.
Yeah, just need to
So
actually do
don't
it.
settle for being lame.
Do good.
Do better.
Be the few.
Be the few that produce fire music that when
Yeah.
you're on a secular fast.
Yes. Like honestly, KBC, like it's given.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's so good
It's so good, and
Yeah.
I like go off.
that our bass is bumping for the last couple
Yeah.
weeks.
Sorry to all of our neighbors when we pull up to the house.
Not even sorry. No Jesus. I'll play it louder. Anyway. So that's the podcast.
That is the debrief. Well, like,
That was really good. I look forward to listening back. But Kay, we will give you the final words.
oh my
Any
gosh.
final gold nuggets for us?
Yeah.
Or anything else you'd like to add?
I think as we go into 2024, if you haven't processed 2023, it's not too late.
Yeah.
And so like just honestly, I highly encourage you to go back and look at what you prayed for God to do in your life and see how much he answered, because we pass over that all the time.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just think obviously we haven't fully processed 2023, and this is like scratching the surface of our processing.
I haven't fully processed 3 days of passion.
I agree.
Let alone a whole year.
Right. And it's going to take so long, but I don't think you're too late to start. And so I just encourage you to process what God did and see how faithful he is and all the things he answered in your life. And we're super excited for 2024. Thank you for having me again.
Yeah,
I
girl.
love the podcast. I love filming in the home. It's just so sweet. because we debrief all the time already. But
Yeah, that was the thing too. Kay and I sit on this couch and have these conversations all the time, and to this extent, at least once a month.
Yeah.
Like very honestly, I'd say once a month, to where it is going on 2.5 hours at least.
Yeah.
But it's so needed because we are able to
needed.
process. I'm a processor.
Me too.
And I need to process things. I need to talk things out. And so it's very helpful to have community to do that with, and even better when you have a roommate to do it with.
Yeah.
So I honor you.
We are very blessed.
And I love you.
I love you, bestie boo.
And I love all of you who are watching. And if you made it this far, you are a real one.
You are.
And you're probably one of our friends.
Probably. I wanted just to know all the cheese men.
But if you didn't, then you missed out because you can assume some things about some tea.
And if you see us in the street and you want to ask, we're open books.
I got the photo on my phone.
We're just respectful on camera.
We just don't blast on social media.
Just don't blast.
No, it's all is awesome. And God is the absolute coolest. He is
coolest.
working whether you see it or not. And I believe the best for your 2024. So
2024, the Lord.
Yes. I low-key thought you were going to say for the plot, but for the Lord.
Yeah, for the plot has gotten me in some valleys, so I think we're just going to keep it for the Lord.
For the Lord, yes.
2024, the Lord. You heard it here first.
Amen, amen.
Amen, amen. Look at my bilingual queen, my bilingual queen.
Anyway, play your feet are.
Play where your feet are, baby.
We love you.